We are not rich by what we possess, but by what we can do without. He who is cruel to animals becomes hard also in his dealings with men. We can judge the heart of a man by his treatment of animals. Act in such a way that you treat humanity, whether in your own person or in the person of any other, never merely as a means to an end, but always at the same time as an end. Look closely. The beautiful may be small. One who makes himself a worm cannot complain afterwards if people step on him. Two things fill the mind with ever-increasing wonder and awe. The more often and the more intensely the mind of thought is drawn to them: the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me. I had to deny knowledge in order to make room for faith. For peace to reign on earth, humans must evolve into new beings who have learned to see the whole first. All our knowledge begins with the senses, proceeds then to the understanding, and ends with reason. There is nothing higher than reason. Seek not the favor of the multitude. It is seldom got by honest and lawful means. But seek the testimony of few, and number not voices, but weigh them. The busier we are, the more acutely we feel that we live, the more conscious we are of life. But only he who, himself enlightened, is not afraid of shadows. Space and time are the framework within which the mind is constrained to construct its experience of reality. Have patience a while. Slanders are not long-lived. Truth is the child of time. Ere long she shall appear to vindicate thee. Genius is the ability to independently arrive at and understand concepts that would normally have to be taught by another person. We are enriched not by what we possess, but by what we can do without. How then is perfection to be sought? Wherein lies our hope? In education, and in nothing else. Act only according to that maxim, whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. Rules for happiness: something to do, someone to love, something to hope for. In all judgments by which we describe anything as beautiful, we allow no one to be of another opinion. There is something splendid about innocence, but what is bad about it, in turn, is that it cannot protect itself very well and is easily seduced. Nothing is divine but what is agreeable to reason. Enlightenment is man's emergence from his self-incurred immaturity. An action, to have moral worth, must be done from duty. Marriage is the union of two people of different sexes, with a view to the mutual possession of each other's sexual attributes for the duration of their lives. Two things fill the mind with ever new and increasing admiration and awe, the oftener and more steadily we reflect on them: the starry heavens above and the moral law within. Have the courage to use your own reason. That is the motto of enlightenment. Man must be disciplined, for he is by nature raw and wild. But although all our knowledge begins with experience, it does not follow that it arises from experience. Two things fill my mind with ever-increasing wonder and awe, the more often and the more intensely the reflection dwells on them: the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me. Without man and his potential for moral progress, the whole of reality would be a mere wilderness, a thing in vain, and have no final purpose. The reading of all good books is like a conversation with the finest minds of past centuries. Morality is not properly the doctrine of how we may make ourselves happy, but how we may make ourselves worthy of happiness. The schematicism by which our understanding deals with the phenomenal world is a skill so deeply hidden in the human soul that we shall hardly guess the secret trick that nature here employs. All false art, all vain wisdom, lasts its time, but finally destroys itself, and its highest culture is also the epoch of its decay. Enlightenment is man's emergence from his self-imposed immaturity. Immaturity is the inability to use one's understanding without guidance from another. Human beings are never to be treated as a means, but always as ends. Beauty presents an indeterminate concept of understanding, the sublime an indeterminate concept of reason. By a lie a man throws away, and as it were annihilates, his dignity as a man. From the crooked timber of humanity, a straight board cannot be hewn. Dignity is a value that creates irreplaceability. Only the descent into the hell of self-knowledge can pave the way to godliness. A categorical imperative would be one which represented an action as objectively necessary in itself, without reference to any other purpose. Simply to acquiesce in skepticism can never suffice to overcome the restlessness of reason. Two things fill the mind with ever new and increasing admiration and reverence: the more often and more steadily one reflects on them, the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me. What might be said of things in themselves, separated from all relationship to our senses, remains for us absolutely unknown. Better the whole people perish than that injustice be done. Settle, for sure and universally, what conduct will promote the happiness of a rational being. Nature is beautiful because it looks like art, and art can only be called beautiful if we are conscious of it as art, while yet it looks like nature. Thoughts without content are empty, intuitions without concepts are blind. The understanding can intuit nothing, the senses can think nothing. Only through the unison can knowledge arise. Happiness is not an ideal of reason but of imagination. The humiliating difference between layman and clergyman must disappear, and equality spring from true liberty. Immaturity is the incapacity to use one's intelligence without the guidance of another. Act that your principle of action might safely be made a law for the whole world. An action is essentially good if the motive of the agent be good, regardless of the consequences. I shall never forget my mother, for it was she who planted and nurtured the first seeds of good within me. She opened my heart to the lasting impressions of nature. She awakened my understanding and extended my horizon, and her percepts exerted an everlasting influence upon the course of my life. The possession of power inevitably spoils the free use of reason. Morality is not the doctrine of how we may make ourselves happy, but how we may make ourselves worthy of happiness. All thought must, directly or indirectly, by way of certain characters, relate ultimately to intuitions, and therefore with us, to sensibility, because in no other way can an object be given to us. All human knowledge begins with intuitions, proceeds from thence to concepts, and ends with ideas.